Hello, friends. Today, again, we welcome you to another session with Learn Made classes, Learn English and Math at your doorstep. Today, we are going to be doing a topic in English, which goes by the name of direct and indirect speech. Some of you also know it as reported speech. So, what is direct and indirect speech? There are two ways of reporting what someone has said, what someone is saying, or what someone will say. Direct speech, which actually is in quotes, is a way of reporting someone's exact words. It involves using quotation marks to report the speaker's words. And on the other hand, indirect speech, which we know as reported speech, is a way of reporting someone's words without using the exact words. It gives you the benefit of being able to paraphrase, to be able to summarize, and to be able to put it into a more concise way without using the exact words. Indirect speech is preferred in a number of situations where some kind of controversies can be involved or where some formal communication is required. So, where do we actually use formal indirect speech? It's generally preferred in formal writing and reporting, just as passive voice is preferred over active voice in formal reporting. So is indirect speech preferred in formal reporting and informal communication. It provides a formal and objective term when reporting meetings or discussions or statements. The tone is not subjective because it is not stating exactly what the speaker is saying. It is just paraphrasing or summarizing that. It maintains a professional and a respectful tone. Some kind of confidentiality is maintained, and there is also some avoidance of conflict because the exact words are not being stated. Sometimes ambiguous or longer statements made by the speaker become clearer. Also, complex information becomes clearer and it becomes more concise. So, if you know the advantages of using indirect speech, we should know how to convert direct speech, which often comes in quoted text. Like suppose I said, Amit said to Rahul, comma, inverted commas, I do not like person X. So, how do we convert it into indirect? It simply says, Amit told Rahul that he does not or he did not like person X. So this is how you change them. But then what are the ways or what are the rules which are involved? So the first and foremost rule is that the quotation marks go. The quotation marks indicate the exact words used by the speaker, and those exact words, when they are no longer going to be in use, what do? We remove the quotation marks. The tense of the verb spoken, the words inside the quoted text change. Like I just gave you an example. Amit said to Rohit, I do not like person X. So Amit told Rohit that he did not like. So the does not changes into did not. So in this way, you are changing the tense according to the reporting verb. Once we get into it deeper, you will notice and you will actually come to know that there are certain occasions when we do not change the reporting verbs, the verbs inside the quoted text, and there are certain occasions when we need to change them. So we'll come to that later. And also, as I told you, whatever is the text inside the quotes is paraphrased or changed to fit the context of the original statement. So here we are now going to be starting with how to go about it, right? So as you can see, up on the board are two, rather three sentences. I'll just read them out for you. Virat said, I love cricket. Virat says, mind you, I will also play tennis. Virat will say, I'm living in Delhi. Can you see there's a difference? Now, what I put with green underline, these three are known as reporting verbs because this is the verb which is reporting what has been said, what is being said, or what will be said. So I put them under the category of reporting verbs. Here the reporting verb is said, here it is says, and here it is will say. As you can see, said is in the past. So when I say Virat said something, so he's already said it, and it reports something which has already been said. So it's in the past. Now, when I say Virat says, it's something which is happening at the present moment, and it reports something which he keeps saying. Virat says this, Ankit says this. So it's something which is being said again and again. Now coming to what Virat will say, that is, it's reporting something which is presumed will be said in the future. So it talks about something which is in the future. So right in the beginning, we need to understand what do you mean by reporting verb. This is the reporting that this particular thing has been said or is being said or will be said. So please keep in mind the tense of the reporting verb. In the first case, it is in the past, here it is in the present, and here it is in the future. So let us see how these sentences change even without knowing the rules of reported speech. We sometimes use reported speech. So let's just see how we generally be saying these sentences if we were asked not to use the quotation marks. So Virat said that he loved cricket. So I simply write this like Virat said that he loved cricket. Virat says, I will also play tennis. Now he's saying this. So Virat says that he will also play tennis because it's something which he keeps saying. So he says that he'll also play tennis. So I simply write this as Virat says that he will also play tennis. And the third sentence, Virat will say, I'm living in Delhi. So we don't know whether he's really going to say it or not, but we are presuming that he'll say this. So Virat will say that he is living in Delhi. I don't really make any great change. So I say that Virat will say that he is living in Delhi. Okay. Having said this much, you will notice that the moment my reporting verb was in the past, what has happened to my verbs inside? My verbs inside, here this was the first verb, love. This being in the past, this has also changed and it has become love, right? So this being in the past, my present tense verb has changed into the past. This says it is a present tense verb. What is the verb inside? I will also play. But there's no change inside. So I will also play. So when the reporting verb is in the present, the verbs inside do not change. Let's see what happens when my reporting verb in this case is in the future. What are my verbs inside? I am living in Delhi. It is in the present. This also continues to be in the present, right? So, only when it was in the past did we notice that the present has become the past. So, this is the only particular case when the reporting verb is in the past that your verbs undergo a change in the tenses. Here the present remains, this is the future remains future, the present remains present. But in this case, because the reporting verb was in the past, this goes a step backward because you're reporting something which had already happened. So this is no longer happening in the present. It has already happened. So it goes into the past. So does that make sense? Now, would you understand the role of the reporting verb? When it is in the past, verbs go at the back because it's already happened. When it's in the present or in the future, there's going to be no change in the reporting verbs, right? Another thing that you would have noticed, in each of these sentences, where are the quotation marks gone? There was a set of quotation marks here. When you change into indirect, the quotation marks go. There was a set of quotation marks here. The quotation marks have gone. Again, in the direct sentence, there was a set of quotation marks. In the indirect, they are gone. So that's one important thing that we need to remember. There are no quotation marks when we are reporting a sentence. In the indirect speech, there is no quotation mark, right? Another thing, it was I here. The pronoun here was I. This has changed into he. Again, the pronoun has changed here. The pronoun has changed here. So you will notice that pronouns change. Now how they will change, I will tell you later when we come to when we deal with how pronouns change. But I just want to make it clear, what are the three, four things that happen? The quotation marks go, the pronouns change, the verbs inside undergo a change if the reporting verb is in the past. And also, did you notice the meaning of the sentence has not changed at all? Neither has the meaning changed or what was trying to be conveyed has been changed. We have to be very, very careful that we do not change what is the sense of the words. And that, how do you achieve that? The rest of the words will continue in the same manner. I will copy them verbatim. Verbatim means word for word. Tennis, tennis. The pronoun is changed. Will also play. Will also play. If only there was a change in the verb, will I change the verb. Otherwise, all the other verbs except for the pronouns and the tense verbs will remain the same. I am living in Delhi. He is living in Delhi. In Delhi continue to be the same. So this is one more thing that we need to be sure of. The pronouns, the tenses, the quotation marks, as also the sense of the words. An indirect speech sentence will always end in a full stop, which here by mistake I have not put anywhere. So everywhere the sentence is going to end in a full stop, even if you are reporting a question mark, if you are reporting an exclamatory sentence, the final thing in a reported speech sentence is going to be a full stop. There is going to be no punctuation in terms of quotation marks, no question marks, it's only going to be a full stop, right? So we move on next then. So after having discussed those three important changes, that quotation marks are going to be removed, there's going to be only a full stop, that the pronouns will change, and also the sense will remain the same. We are now going to move on to something else, and again it is something related to the reporting verb. Now by now you would be familiar with the reporting verb, which is the one which introduces the quoted text. Here it is said, here it is again said to. Okay, so let's look at these two sentences which I have written on the board. The first one says, Amit said, I will be leaving for Delhi. The next one says, Amit said to Mona, I will be leaving for Delhi. I will be leaving for Delhi, I will be leaving for Delhi, the same thing. Amit said, Amit said. In the first sentence, we don't know who he was speaking to. But in the second sentence, we know that he was speaking to Mona. So let us see how the reported speech changes. In the first sentence, since I don't know who he was speaking to, said will remain said. So Amit said that he would be leaving for Delhi, right? In the second sentence, I know that he was speaking to Mona. So Amit, rather than saying said to Mona, I will say Amit told Mona that he would be leaving for Delhi. So what is the difference between the two sentences? The only difference is that I know he was speaking to Mona. So in the second sentence, it is specified that Amit was speaking to Mona, and because of that, this said then changes to told. Here it remains the same. Here it changes from said to told. So what is the thing that we need to write down? And in that case, we need to be understanding that in the second sentence, it is specified that Amit was speaking to Mona. So if it is known to who is being spoken to, the reporting verb said to changes into told. And in the other case, when we don't know who is being spoken to, said remains said. And otherwise, the reporting verb said remains said. Is that okay? So this is a very important distinction that we need to make, that if I don't know who is being spoken to, the reporting verb said remains said. If it was says, it would still be says. If it was will say, it would again still be will say. But if I had the person to whom was being spoken, if I know that person name, then I will say Amit told Mona, or Amit is saying to Mona, or Amit will say, or sorry, Amit is telling Mona, or Amit will tell Mona. So it is a said unsaid rule. That said is going to be changed to told. Is that okay? Another thing that you would have noticed is that did I have anything here? Said I. Here again said to Mona. Is there anything here? No. But in each of my indirect sentences, I have a that. So there is another thing, another rule which comes in, that the indirect speech after my reporting verb, I will always have that. Before I start with the quoted text, I will introduce my reported speech with that. Amit said that he would be leaving for Delhi. As I was telling you, to maintain the sentence, all my other things are going to be the same. Leaving for Delhi. Is that okay? Again, so that he would be leaving for Delhi. Again, Amit told Mona after Mona that he would be leaving for Delhi. So, two things we've learned here, that said to will change into told, and the reporting, before I put in the reported text, I will have to start with the conjunction that. Is that okay? So we move on now next and write down the rule for introducing that. So up till now we've done 4 rules. The tenses inside the reported speech change according to the reporting verb. The reporting verb said to changes to told. The reported speech is introduced with that in case of declarative, which are also known as assertive sentences. I'm not going to go back into the types of sentences. You must all be knowing that we have 4 types of sentences: declarative, interrogative, imperative, and exclamatory. Declarative are mere statements about a certain thing. It is raining. I like maths. I am going for a movie. So all those are declarative sentences, and declarative sentences, if it is a reported speech, it is going to be introduced with that, as we have just seen in the previous examples. Now moving on, we are now going to be discussing how the tenses will change if the reporting verb is in the past. Is that okay? So we're looking at rule D, which said how the verbs inside the reported speech are going to change if the reporting verb was in the past. So let's look at them in three different things: present, the past, and the future. If there's a verb inside your reported speech, suppose I say, Amit said to Mona, I love maths. So when it gets reported into the indirect speech, it will be Amit told Mona that he loved. So the present simple has become the past simple. Is that okay? Now let's look at the next one. Is drinking. This is the continuous. The present continuous is indicated by is, am, or are verbing. So I've taken an example of is drinking. Again, let's say Amit said to Reena, he is drinking water. So Amit told Mona that he was drinking water. So from the present continuous, it has become the past continuous. Similarly, the present perfect is going to become the past perfect. If I say, I A said to B, I have eaten my food, or he has eaten his food. So A said to B that he had eaten his food. Similarly, he has been reading. He said that he had been reading. So it is very simple. All the present tenses change into the past. If it's simple, it will continue to be simple. Present continuous will be past continuous. Present perfect is going to be past perfect, and present perfect continuous is going to be past perfect continuous. And why does this happen? Because the reporting verb is in the past. He said that. So whatever was happening at that moment has actually now gone into the past. If I say he said, I am drinking water. So if it was 10 o'clock when he said this, but when I am reporting it, that 10 o'clock has gone into the past. So automatically everything which is in the present goes into the past. I'll come to the exceptions later. There are some exceptions. Let's now look at how the past tense verbs change. Now, if I say A said to B, I loved going for walks. Now, it's already in the past. So, it is something which he is reporting which had already happened in his past. A said to B, I loved going for walks. So A told B that he had loved. Even further behind, he had loved. So the past simple goes into the past perfect. Similarly, the past continuous goes into the past perfect continuous, right? This should be perfect. Past perfect continuous. Like if I say, A said to B, he was drinking water. So A told B that he had been, because he was drinking water at that time, but when he reported, it is something which had happened earlier. So he had been drinking. So, but then what happens to something which is already perfected, in the sense the action is already over? Like Amit said to father that he had eaten dinner. So Amit told his father that he had eaten dinner. I can't go further beyond that had. It is already something which is over earlier. So that remains as the perfected tense. And so past perfect remains past perfect. Past perfect continuous. These two are the perfect tenses. So they are already perfected. You cannot have any other change. So the past perfect, there's no change. The past perfect continuous, again there is no change. Let's have a look at the future tenses. How do you indicate the future tenses? The future tenses are indicated by two words. I will be going, I shall be going. He is going, he, I am going, we are going. Also, these three kind of figurative speaking also indicate that something is going to happen in the future. So, how does that change? Will and shall will both change to would. Please keep in mind that we do not use should. Should is used as in advice. Like if I say, A said to B, I will be going for a movie. So A told B that he would be going for a movie. A said to B, I shall be going for a movie. A told B that he should be going a movie is absolutely incorrect. He should means that he is advising B to go for a movie. But it's not that he's advising, he's conveying that he's going for a movie. So A told B that he would be going. So both in case of will and shall, it changes into would. Is will say that he was planning that he is going, so he was planning that he would be going or was going or were going according to whatever your helping verb is. If it is it will be was, am will be still was, and are will change to were going. Is that okay? This is how your verbs change when you are changing from direct speech into indirect speech. Mind you, if the reporting verb is in the past, even then there are some exceptions. Now let's have a look at the exceptions, okay? So the exceptions are exceptions to rule D, as we were talking about, that when the reporting verb is in the past, all verbs inside the reported speech undergo a change except for these few exceptions. Now the first exception, if the reported speech expresses a universal truth or a scientific, mathematical or geographical fact, the verbs inside will not undergo a change. Like, take the example, the teacher said, the sun sets in the west. It is a geographical fact. It's not going to set one day in the west and the other day in the east. So it cannot be changed into the past that the sun set yesterday in the west and today it's going to set in the east. So it is going to remain as it is. So the sun sets in the west. So the teacher said that the sun sets in the west. Is that okay? So when it's a universal truth, if I say the teacher said 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. So the teacher says that 2 plus 2 makes 4. It still makes 4 today or day after or yesterday. I cannot say it made 4. So that remains the same. Now coming to the second exception, if the speech expresses a state of affairs which remain unchanged. Now the state of affairs remains unchanged. Like suppose I say there's this person Manish who said, my name is Manish. Obviously, he can't say that my name was Manish and today it's become something else. So it continues that his name is Manish even when it is being reported. Is that okay? So two exceptions, either when we are talking about a universal truth, a scientific fact, a mathematical fact or a geographical fact, the verbs inside do not undergo a change, or if the situation still remains unchanged or it's a constant, the verbs inside do not undergo a change. There are some other words which also change accordingly when we are changing things into the reported speech. Let's have a look at that. So rule E talks about how modal verbs change. Modal verbs basically express the mood of the sentence. I can do this. I need to do this. I dare not do this. I must do this. I could do this. I might do this. They all express different moods of a particular verb. And so we are going to be talking about some modal verbs which change according to the transformation from direct to indirect speech. Now, may. He said, I may be able to do that. So, he said that he might be able to do that. So, may becomes might. I can do that. He could do that. So, can becomes could. Must. I must do this. So, how do I change that? He must do it or he had to do it. So, this becomes had to. Okay, I'll just make this clearer. This is getting fudged up. So, just make this. So, this becomes had to. Now, these particular words, these are also modals, but they are not going to undergo any kind of change. So, these 6 words here, would, should, could, might, I would be able to do this, I should do this, I could do this when I was young, I might be able to go, I ought to do this, I used to do this when I was young. So they are going to remain unchanged. So this is how modal verbs change when speech is changed from direct speech into indirect speech. So in all we've done up till E rule, we're talking about how we've introduced that, what happens when the reporting verb is in the present, future, what happens to all the verbs inside, and we came to exceptions and finally now to modal verbs. This all is what I intend to do in this particular lecture. So you can follow up for the next part of this lecture in part 2 of the lecture, and that would be talking about the other rules when it talks about how pronouns change, how words indicating nearness change to words indicating remoteness or distance. So we'll meet you in the second part of this lecture, which is going to be part 2 of the lecture. So I'm going to label this as part 1. As again, you know where to contact me. This is Learn Me Classes. My numbers are up on the board for your consumption. 77380 21600 and the other one 9867550621. In this lecture, if you have any queries, you can come back to me or otherwise give your feedback to me on this. Thank you. Have a nice day.